Oh my God, my bad. Shit. What a way to begin a recording. Listen, so, okay, you guys are some fucking freaks. Okay? I'm doing this shit, right, because it's super therapeutic for me. I'm old as fuck. I've lived. I watch how the younger generation is moving, and I'm just like, this is interesting, because we just didn't, in my heyday, we just didn't give a fuck about what the next person was doing as much as they do today. This is fucking insane. I mean, judgment. Oh my God. I would hate to be young nowadays. Because I would be young nowadays and I can't live my fucking life without feeling... Anyway. Hey guys, what's going on? So, okay, I posted a second video, right, of me being just like a little bit much and sharing some shit that was pretty fucking personal, right? And let me tell you, the pervs came out. And I'm here for it. And listen, I've not told anybody that I know personally about this channel. Nobody that I know in real life knows about this channel. So I'm doing this shit organically. I just feel like, hey, you know, I feel like I'm too old really to capitalize off of it. So it's really just in fun for me that I get on this shit and share all my personal business and let any other young woman who has been dubbed for the streets, and you all know how I feel about the term for the streets. That shit is just... Anyway, but it's just like really just, I don't even want to say validation because I don't want to be on that validation train, right? But it's really just to be someone who's gone through it. You come across a situation and are just like, oh my God, I'm going to tell you what the fuck I would do because I've been there. I've done that shit. This story, let me tell you. Before I do that, let me go ahead and do my usual disclaimer. If this is the first time that you're hearing me, and I am sure that it is, please know that anytime you hear my voice, I will be stoned. I will not ever do this shit sober. Not if I can help it, because I'm doing my best to remain as true and as authentic to myself and to my stories as possible. I've seen some crazy shit on TV, right? I'm that motherfucker who I get off. I get off on proving people wrong. I don't know why, but I get off on proving people wrong. I remember watching an episode of whatever the fuck it was. I think it was like Dr. Oz or some shit. Let me not say that it was him, but some shit where they put like some young girl. She was like, what, 16 or 17? They like gave her a lie detector test to see if her boobs were real. She was a fucking kid. A kid. You're taking a kid on... my gosh. Point. I was like, oh, any motherfucker out here can get it. They just like get everybody at the fucking lie detector test. So I live my life like at any fucking moment someone can pull my ass onto national TV and be like, bitch, I don't believe you. Prove it. And so I just want to be, straight up 1000 and keep it real. This whole these Craigslist liked. And I don't think Craigslist has been around for years, right? 3 years, 3, 4, 5, whatever the fuck. But they used to do this thing on Craigslist where it was gigs, right? Which is not an actual job, but just like a hustle, basically. And so I saw that it was growing more and more prevalent that people were kind of looking for sexy maid services and nude cleaning and shit like that, right? This is nothing new. This is nothing new. We've been doing this shit since the fucking 20s. This is nothing new. So back in my day, when computers were not really a thing, they weren't really as accessible as they are today. When people actually had to take out fucking classifieds in a newspaper. Do you guys know what that is? I didn't think so. They had this thing called a newspaper, and people would pay money to place ads, and it was, I think it was you would have to go down to the paper office, and then they would see your face when you submit this fucking ad saying that you were a single white male looking for a single white female who's into heavy bondage and anal play and who doesn't mind your night terrors. But now people can just get online with that shit, right? So way back when, I ended up coming across a classified, and it was basically looking for like a sexy maid, okay? And so you had to like submit a picture, and I had the ability to, of course, cross out my eyes, which I did do, which is weird that it makes such a huge fucking difference, like how anonymous that keeps you by just like crossing out your eyes, but whatever. And blinked out my eyes and whatever. And he had made it clear, you know, that he was a white male who was looking for a white female or an the ad actually did say Oriental woman. We now know that that's not so much of an acceptable term. For whatever fucking reason. Listen, this is exactly why I don't have a Patreon. I could do an entire fucking video on certain hate speech that will never leave, like, it will never leave my vocabulary. It will never leave my diction, my vernacular, whatever the fuck you want. It will never, I will say them all the fucking time. Why? Because I just don't give a fuck. And I'm 110. So I'm headed out this bitch anyway. But so anyway, he made it very clear that he was looking for either a white female or an Asian female, white woman or an Asian woman. And I was like, fuck it. I was like, this is good money. Like, he's talking about, and at the time, it was good pay. He was talking about like fucking $100 an hour, which today, look, I'm a fucking stoner, bruh. I'm sitting here fucking smoking as we speak. So I can't really, I don't know, the fuck. That today, it feels like it would be like the equivalent of maybe like 400 today, 400 an hour maybe. It was a lot of fucking money. So I'm like, yes, let me go ahead and submit. So I did. I sent a picture of my black ass, not, you know, my actual black ass, but of me. I sent a picture of me, and I was in very tasteful clothing, because, you know, like way back when, like, motherfuckers were into collecting pictures, because again, the internet wasn't a thing. So yeah, blacked out my eyes, sent a picture in like decent, modest clothing. I had a little bit of cleavage going, I had on some nice jewelry, sent the shit through. I got a response to come in for an interview about a week later via snail mail, and it wasn't snail mail back then, like, you know, because it was pretty quick, but I want to say about a week later. So I know he was getting like heavy inquiry regarding the position. So I get a request for an interview. He has me call him at whatever the fuck number. So I call this guy, we're talking, and he's like, and I told him, I said, you know, I know that you were very clear, because I think he repeated Oriental twice. So I don't know if he meant to add like a third ethnicity or whatever the fuck we're calling it now, whatever the fuck. If he wanted to add like a third option, or if he was really just like, you know, I really want that Asian. And I told him, I said, listen, I know that you are seeking specifically white and Asian. And clearly, I just want to make sure that you did see my picture. Like, I don't know if you're calling to tell me, bitch, you ain't attached no picture. Therefore, so, you know, and he was like, no, I saw your picture. Would love to interview you. I want to tell you more about the position. If I'm just being honest, I'm looking for someone who will come in and just revealing clothing. It can be a nightie or a negligee. It can be, and the negligees and nighties. I don't know if you guys, and everyone has seen an episode of The Golden Girls, and I know that's really, really weird to like. I know that's really fucking weird, but do you see like how gorgeous and like how feminine their nighties are? Like Victoria's Secret had some different shit going back in the 80s, but I just mean like, you know, just very, very, it wasn't, it was more, it was more sexy Sears and Roebuck, and not so much Frederick of Hollywood and Hustler. So it was kind of different. But he's like, I'm looking for someone to just come in like a negligee or a nightie, do some light cleaning, you know, maybe some heavy flirting. Depending on how comfortable we get with each other, maybe we can do some light petting. I'm not sure how you feel about that. And I'm thinking like light petting? Like, what's light petting? Is that like dry humping? He was like, no. He's like, you know, not that much contact. He said, but from time to time, maybe tap your bottom. And he did say bottom. Tap your bottom, you know, every now and then, depending on how comfortable that we get with each other. And mind you, I have no fucking idea how this guy looks. And I'm young enough, right? I had to have been like 22, 23. Could have been 24. I could have been 24. I know for sure I was under 25. But so I had no idea how to. So he's describing himself to me, and he's very honest. He's like, well, you know, I'm on the shorter end. And I don't think he said shorter. I really think don't let me lie to you. I believe he said average, because like I know that men don't really like to refer to themselves as short. But I believe he said that he was of average height. He didn't let me know that he was balding, that he was a white male. That he had facial hair. Those were my younger years, okay? But so anyway, he's like, yeah, I just want to, you know, go ahead and make my expectations very clear. I want you to go ahead and come in. You can go ahead and do a live interview. You can go ahead and we'll discuss payment. I'm like, whoa. He's like, and I know that, you know, I specified that it would be $100 an hour, but I also offer bonuses and incentives. And my like a light bulb immediately goes off, and I'm like, he's fucking. And he immediately like senses my hesitation, and he's like, it's not even necessarily sex. It's not that at all. He said, but there might be some times where I'll have to stay in the office a little bit later, and I might want you to accompany me, you know, for dinner or for like an early breakfast. And he's like, in your negligee, in your, you know, lingerie, of course. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, you know, but that's again up to you and how comfortable we get with each other, yada yada yada. So this is way back when, of course, we don't have a fucking GPS, right? He's trying to explain to me how to get there. He's giving me like all the highways and that, you know, that I could take if I don't want to take any back roads. And back roads do take a little bit longer, but I was someone who, being a younger driver, preferred the back roads. So I end up getting there. I get out the car. He immediately runs out of it. I noticed that there's no other cars in the fucking parking lot, bro. No other cars in the parking lot. So I'm kind of sitting there for a minute, because I'm like, okay, I'm sure I have the right date and time, but I don't see nobody out here. So I'm sitting there just kind of like, oh, do I get out? Like, oh. And he comes. Well, I was assuming it was him. He running out of the building, kind of like letting me know, like, hey, I'm here. Like, you know, park your shit. Come on in. And I'm like, okay. I'm looking at this guy, and I'm like, I guess, you know, like, if he tried to, like, attack me or anything, like, I could take him, I guess. Like, and, you know, like, you're always taught certain things to protect yourself if you get yourself in certain situations. And, of course, things are never 100% foolproof, because we do have a tendency to panic. So I, of course, listen, I should have made it clear. I did let my best friend know where I was going at the time. She was like, bitch, do you really? Like, really? I was like, yes, bitch, really? She was like, bitch, you're crazy. I was like, bitch, I know. But I told her where I was going. I told her, you know, what it was all about. So someone knew where I was. So with that being in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm stoned as fuck. Let me go ahead and get some water. But so at least one person knew where I was going. And, you know, crime wasn't really, you know, crime has always been crime, but it just wasn't that way back when. It just wasn't that. It was rare. You know what I mean? That, like, people came up missing like that. And then the people who did come up missing were, like, typically white. So I was like, Anyway, you know, he runs out to greet me. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, he's short and fat, you know, but he's got a nice smile, nice eyes, nice blue eyes. He's very friendly, very pleasant. He comes out, we shake hands, and, you know, anyway, we shake hands, we introduce ourselves, and he's like, you know, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead, you know, and invite you in, and we can go ahead and do a tour of the building space, and I can go ahead and give you the details on the incentives and the bonuses. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, cool. So we go into his office, and you can tell it's a legitimate business. It's not like I walked in and it was totally unfurnished, but it was a legitimate business. So I go in, and, you know, you can tell that other people work there. You know, he's letting me know, hey, I've got a small company that I manage, I run. You know, this is my property. I'm the owner. Da 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 da. I'm in charge of payroll. Da 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 da. And that's how I have the ability to be able to hire this kind of service. I do my own fucking payroll. No one sees my papers. So, I don't know what it was. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I am just someone who, I do it for the experience. I do it for the fucking story. I really fucking do. Everything I do for everything I did. And I guess I could say I still do, because shit, I ain't dead yet. But I'm just that person. I do it for the experience. I give no fucks. And it was so funny because in high school, they would be like, bitch, why don't you just tell them that those rumors are not true? And I'm like, but I don't give a fuck about the rumors. And they're like, bitch, you really don't give a fuck that people think this and this and this? And I was just like, I swear to God, yo, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. I swear to God, if I could, listen, if it was like, and I've said this before, I think, if it was in my fucking plasma, bruh, I don't know. I don't know why I just didn't give a fuck, but I just do things for the experience. So we're sitting there, and he's actually conducting this bitch like it's a real fucking interview. But like, bruh, like, we know what's gonna happen. We know what's going down. Like, don't insult my intelligence, please. So we're talking, and he's like, yeah, and the general, the light cleaning duties include, and I don't remember, and, you know, this is, of course, not verbatim, but this is, you know, basically what he was saying. I would expect you to go ahead and come in and, you know, vacuum the floors and, you know, water the plants, dust all the statues, make sure that the windows and da-da-da-da-da-da. I said, oh, okay. And he was talking, but like, I was horny. I was horny, bruh. I was just like, and it had been lit. I'm not someone who fucks. I've said this before. I'm not someone who fucks. And being younger, sometimes you would have a difficult time making it clear, like, what you wanted, what you expected. And so I wanted to just, like, get my nut. But I didn't want to have to fuck him to get a nut, because, like, I had already, like, I'd already discovered, basically at the time, no, because that's not true. Not when I had an inkling at the time that I lost my virginity that I did not like dick. But I knew for sure that, like, dick just wasn't my thing by, like, 23. So he was, like, just talking, and I drowned him out. And then I remember him kind of, like, waving his hand in my face, and he was like, hey, you kind of disappeared on me, or zoned out, or whatever the fuck he said. You kind of went whatever the fuck, you know? And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry about that. Like, I'm just so distracted. He was like, oh, you got a lot going on? Do we need to reschedule? I remember him saying this shit. It was just so fucking... He was like, oh, no, you got a lot going on? Do we need to go ahead and reschedule? Because, I mean, I'm definitely interested in hiring you. I was like, listen, oh, my God. I was like, do you give head? And I don't think I said, do you give head? I think I said, do you eat pussy? Yep. I mean, like, obviously, do you give head is the more elegant, classy way. Is it? Do you say oral sex? Do you perform cunnilingus? But I was like, I think I said, do you eat pussy? And his whole face turned like bright fucking, I mean, I've never in my fucking life, I've never in my life seen a person turn so fucking red. I've seen that, and I was used to, like, fucking with, like, because, you know, white males are mostly, I get hit on by white males more than any other race. And I've been hit on by every fucking, and it just kind of like, wow, like, personality does a fucking lot, bro. I remember I was interviewed real quick. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to jump back. I remember getting interviewed in my 30s for a position as hostess in a Japanese restaurant. And it was actually the owner, of that restaurant who was doing the hiring. Because, he had been hiring a lot of, like, younger kids, and they were just totally fucking unreliable. And he needed someone dependable, someone with fucking transportation, with their own car, that was fucking insured and licensed and all that shit. And ended up interviewing me, and like immediately after the interview, we had not even gotten up from and it was so funny because he was sitting there, and he was Japanese, and he was sitting there and he was looking at me, and I remember feeling like he's not gonna fucking hire me. Like, I can tell he's like, oh, you're black, you're not what I'm looking for at all. Because he just had this look on his face where he was just kind of like, I don't want to say he had a face like something smelled bad, because his face wasn't really scrunched up like that. But again, I have a hard time reading facial expressions, because he was kind of just like looking at me like, to me his expression kind of said, ugh. That's what his expression said. But like immediately, like after we shook hands, and he said, well, thank you so much for coming in for the interview, and you'll hear from me soon. We shook hands, and before he even made a step to get out of the booth, he was like, would you like to go out for dinner sometime? And I was just like, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, you fucking put me on the spot. Very fucking cute. But I had a pretty negative experience with an Asian classmate. I knew he was Asian. Listen, I had a bad experience with an Asian classmate. And I was just kind of like, I just assumed that like everyone from the continent of Asia was just like a fucking, a racist. I don't even want to say like a racist, but someone who just hated black people. Just disgusting. Anyway. I don't know why the fuck I said that. I don't know why. What the fuck was that? But what the fuck was that? But I did not go on a date with him, because I was just like, your kind is really mean. And like, yeah, I get it that white guys are mean, but like, you guys are really mean. He's really mean. But he was super fucking sweet, and he ended up asking me again via text. But at the time I was dating, so this was maybe like 6 months later. He was like, hey, and he did. He offered me the position of hostess, but I actually got a better gig within maybe like the 3 days that it took him to contact me, which was crazy because it was just like being a waitress at another spot. But whatever. So anyway, I asked him, I was like, do you eat pussy? And he got all red, and he kind of started to like stutter. Like, what's his name? Who's the one who does That's All, Folks? At the end of the Warner Brothers. Is that Porky Pig? Anyway, he was like, yeah, I guess. And I remember sitting in the chair, like sitting up straight in the chair. I'm doing it, as I tell you. I remember sitting up straight in the chair, and I had my legs crossed because I did have on a skirt. Like, I wanted to give him, like I wanted him to see, what he would be looking at. So I had on a skirt, and I remember, and I didn't necessarily pull a Sharon Stone, right? I didn't fucking spread my fucking legs, but I was just like, I had on a skirt, and I remember just shifting in my chair and crossing the other leg, and his whole fucking mouth, like his mouth just dropped, and the balls on me. When I tell you, the balls on me, I was just kind of like, get on your knees. Would I recommend that you do this now? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. And he got on his knees, and I said something to the effect of you cannot fuck me. I'm not going to let you fuck me. Like, no, that's not going down. And his face, like, he wouldn't listen. He wasn't listening. He was just all between my legs. So, you know, we did what we did. Do I really have to give you a visual? I mean, I guess in a way that's kind of like why you clicked on this shit. You fucking freak. But so yeah, I pulled up my skirt. I allowed him to take off my underwear. And he did the whole rubbing of the thighs. And I don't know, I guess it's probably just a hygiene issue, but like a lot of guys like to sniff. You know, like they like to sniff for a while. And so he kind of just like sniffed for a while and enjoyed and gave me some head. I didn't come as quickly as I would have liked to, but I did come. He wasn't bad at it. But I more so came because he put in work, but I also put in work. I had to do like a lot of, you know, head holding and a lot of, you know, like, shut the fuck up. So, like, I don't know why the fuck you're talking when your mouth has other shit to do, but, you know, I like kinky talk, so it was all good. But this is the scary part, because I came, right? And we all know that once that's done, the regret sinks in. That's just how the fuck, it's just this life. Not to mention too, also as well, my mother's Catholic, so every now and again she would try to like push that Catholic guilt on me. Catholic guilt. And so like I came, right? And he's just down there having a good old time. Like, oh, yeah, more. And I'm just kind of like, oh, no, I feel guilty. And so I'm just kind of like, you know, like, okay, stop. Thank you so much. And he kind of stood up and started to, like, unbuckle his pants. And I was like, whoa, what you doing? He's like, well, now it's my turn. I'm like, it's your turn for what? Like, I'm not sucking your dick. What the fuck? And he was like, So you're just gonna have me eat your pussy and you're not gonna take care of me? And I was like, listen, I just remembered I've got something that I have to do. And he was like, are you kidding? I was like, I'll be back, because you're really good at eating pussy, so I'll be back. And he relaxed, totally fucking relaxed. He was kind of like, oh, okay. Never went back. Nope. I, you know, thanked him. I don't even think I'm sure he was off his knees by the time that I walked out, because yeah, he was off his knees because he was starting to put on his pants. So yeah. And he was like, so do you want the job? And I was like, I'll call you and we'll go ahead and we'll set up my schedule. Never called him again. He called, of course, called several times. Left a few messages. They weren't really angry messages. They sounded more desperate than angry. He was just kind of like, hey, I don't know if maybe you found another gig or whatever. We can go ahead and we didn't discuss the incentives and the bonuses. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, but that was an experience I wouldn't say that I suggested, especially nowadays. Like I say, I was immediately fucking creeped out because I'm like, bruh, no other cars here in the parking lot. But, you know, they say, like, Dahmer was super polite and friendly. Is it Dahmer or Gacy or whoever the fuck? Mancini? I don't fucking know. Mancini. I think I've been watching a lot of Melrose Place lately, so I'm just like, Dr. Mancini. But yeah. I didn't think I would be talking this fucking long. I really wanted to make it a 20-minute story, but it ended up being a half hour. I'm sorry, you guys. I know that I was running well, no, that's what the fuck you came here for, right? Like, you came here for the story. I'm going to try to keep my shit short because I know a lot of people don't really like the long shit. But, listen. I was about that life. And I think he's probably dead now. Because, like, he was like, bruh, I was like 23 maybe. And he had to have been like, shit, in his 50s? Yeah, bruh. If he ain't long gone, he's hanging in there. And I know he ain't gonna hear this, but hey, if you do, you wanna come on and talk about it? All right, Joe, I'm out.